Hey, here we go. Check this out.
This is Whole Nother Level with Dwayne Lindo.
You know, frankly, I feel that we shouldn't even be talking about this. Simple as that.
The great L. Bushman.
They have to make so many adjustments, but I don't know what they have to do. They need a miracle. They need a miracle.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Craig Cousin.
How can you not put Tom Brady number one on the Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks? Man, this guy's a legend. Rings speak.
And Derek Wilson.
I didn't know Eric was going to let you talk.
Don't hate the player, hate the game. I've seen enough Facebook posts to know that you're not a Giants fan. Let's go.
What is going on, guys? It is Whole Nother Level.
Yes, welcome to another edition,
Welcome
a
to
Tuesday
another.
night show here. Whole Nother Level. You know, Eric's out of the office today.
He's enjoying his nice wedding anniversary.
He is.
Congratulations.
Happy anniversary, Eric. So we got me, Factual Frank Mazzei. We got, the great L. Bushman here in the studio as well. So we'll just be going over, or kind of recapping, right? The games from last week, looking ahead a little bit to the Thursday game. Any topics anybody wants to drop into this Facebook Live. I've never really done this before. So first time on Facebook Live. I'm a rookie to the game. But go ahead and drop your comments below. If you guys have any fantasy questions, we'll be happy to answer them as well. Like I said, you can check us out again on Spreaker.com, streaming live, HNL3.com, also RawTalk.com.
It's RawTalkOnline.com.
RawTalkOnline.com. 813-699-5353 if you have any questions at all. Call up. We'll be happy to answer those and then, go on with the show. So what's up, guys?
Not much. How you doing?
I'm awesome. Doing good.
I'm
I'm finally over the cold, and that Evan actually has the cold now.
Yes, as you can tell, I'm
he's drinking hot tea.
Sipping some hot tea.
Yes.
He's playing sick today.
I'm at the level where I'm sweating profusely. And that's not good. I went past the chill stage, now I'm at the sweaty stage. And that's not a good thing.
Yeah, you sound raspy.
Yeah,
that might work for a Boys to Men song, but
Maybe.
maybe not for a whole other level.
The end of the road.
Yes. So what's going on, Frank? Talk to me about the game, man. Monday night game.
Yep.
You had the Giants. You had Minnesota Vikings.
Well, we can say...
Or you had the Vikings. I'm not sure the Giants really showed up there.
Yeah, they... that Eli Manning is now 2-6 against the Minnesota Vikings. So, I mean, I don't know. It's just some things don't match up well, and that just seems to be it for him. But look, Minnesota is... I mean... If anybody is not taking them seriously, I mean, everybody should be on notice that even with Sam Bradford, even without Adrian Peterson, no Teddy Bridgewater, I mean, they can beat anybody.
Well, let's be honest. Let's just go ahead and say, so far, the trade for Sam Bradford, the Philadelphia Eagles made, it's a benefit both teams.
Been a win-win for both teams.
It's a win-win
nuts.
situation. Sam Bradford is exactly what Minnesota needed. You know what? He's actually an upgrade at the passing position over Teddy Bridgewater. And I say that not because I don't believe in Teddy Bridgewater. I think Teddy Bridgewater was progressing pretty well.
Yeah, he's young.
But he hadn't gotten to that level yet.
Yeah.
We wanted to see where he was going to go this season. Everybody's excited. He had the unfortunate injury. Sam Bradford's really taken the helm in a short week. It's been about a month, so 3 weeks of action over there because Sean Hill actually started the first game.
Yep.
And they're doing wonders over there on that offense. You see Stephon Diggs stepping up. Charles Johnson with a couple of huge catches last night.
Yeah.
The running back position, AP went down, but Jerick McKinnon and Matt Asiata, they're carrying the load over there. And that defense is by far, in my opinion, along with Denver, playing the best defense out of anybody in the National Football League.
I want to say thank you to Mike Zimmer and the Vikings because they secured my football pool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, man, I know. Anybody that has Minnesota in fantasy right now, I mean, they're killing it.
Man.
From a defensive standpoint.
If Minnesota scores 17 points, they're probably going to win the game.
Listen, I have DeAndre Hopkins, and, they're playing Houston this week, and DeAndre Hopkins didn't do anything last week, and I'm like, man, is he even startable this week against Minnesota's defense?
I have him. Actually, I have him and Will Fuller on mine, and I'm thinking one of them is going to the bench, if not both of them, because, and look, Xavier Rhodes, he followed the blueprint that Josh Norman gave. How do you take Odell Beckham Jr. out of the game? You rough him up, you get him mad, put your hands on him, and just sit back and watch.
I'm glad you brought that up, Frank. And I was watching the game and looking at all the
For everyone that's
today.
listening on Facebook
Yes.
Live, this is not an 80-year-old man talking. This is Evan. He has a little cold today.
Sorry. So, I'm looking at all the reports and news stories about that game. Don't put me on Facebook Live. I look like shit.
So he's under the weather, so we're going to keep it here for now.
Has ODB now become a problem for Eli and the Giants because of his tantrums on the field?
I mean, listen, he's not doing anything.
He's not.
Well, first off, I didn't even see Eli Manning even look his way the first quarter. And it was almost like, are they kind of penalizing him a little bit just because his antics are getting a little old here? Or is it something that we can say, like, hey, you know what? Like, his on-field issues are amounting. I mean, he got a 15-yard penalty again. Granted, he did get hit out of bounds. If you show the replay, it should have been a penalty.
Yep.
But they're not going to give him that call based on his past history.
No.
And he can't come back, and go after defenders, cornerbacks, and things like that because they're looking for it now. The referees are looking for it. The umpires are looking for it. And the coaches, I mean, they're getting fed up. Even Eli after the game is getting fed up with OBJ. So, when you're looking at Sterling Shepard and Victor Cruz for your first reads, that's not – I mean, they're all right receivers, but it's not an OB – Odell Beckham needs to be the number one. He's getting separation. And you know what? Again, he also needs to stop with these one-handed catches. They're awesome. He does them from time to time, but go up with two hands and catch the football. You know what I'm saying? He's dropped 2 this season, wannabe touchdowns almost, because he tried to go up with one hand again.
Yeah, I mean, look, what did he have, 23 yards?
Yeah, 3 catches for like 23 yards.
I mean, and
we got some people here, going after. They said they got Big Ben on fantasy, so they're not worried about it. We also got antics. That's just what wide receivers do. You're right, Ryan. Wide receivers are divas, the divas of the game. But you can do it to some extent. You have to make sure that you're not hurting the team in the long run. But, with that said, Eli didn't play great either.
No, I mean, look, and I mean, credit Minnesota, but I mean, if Odell Beckham is going to be that way, look, if he's catching for 150 yards and 3 touchdowns, act up, act a fool, do whatever you want. But when it's 23 yards and you're drawing attention to yourself, and look, he ripped his helmet off one time on Terrence Newman. That should have been a penalty. I mean, and I'm sure that Terrence Newman whispered something to him that was – but there's probably something out there that you can say to him, and I'm sure they've talked because he went up and whispered something to him and started to turn and walk, and you saw his helmet get ripped off. So
must be talking about his mama.
There is a button that you can push with him that I'm sure everybody knows now, and it's basically the blueprint is there.
Well, there's no doubt about it, and like you said, there's a button to push, and the button's being pushed early and often in these games, and it's whatever he reacts. I mean, he fought the goalpost, right? Not the goalpost, but the net. The net fought back.
Yep.
2 games ago, and then he gets a 15-yard penalty. And with the new rules, which are ridiculous for taunting, two taunting penalties, and you're kicked out of the game.
Because of him.
Yeah, I know, but those rules are in place now. And honestly, I was talking back and forth with one of my buddies last night watching the game, and we thought like he was 100% going to get kicked out. And I had him going against him. We were pretty much neck and neck in fantasy. I had Odell Beckham. He had Kyle Rudolph, and I ended up losing that game. Honestly, I should have won that game. Come on.
Yeah, but looking at this, he's a professional. Whatever they're saying to him, you're a wide receiver. You're the star of this team, pretty much, him and Eli. But you are at a top level now where you shouldn't let things get to you, whatever they're saying. And to throw tantrums like that, come on, you're now just being a little baby now.
No, I completely agree. For everybody that's listening in right now, this is my first time again on Facebook Live, so thank you for that. You can listen to us streaming live right now on Spreaker.com. You can also visit us at our website, www.hnl3.com, or stream us live at rawtalk.com, rawtalkonline.com.
Rawtalkonline.com.
Yes.
That's right.
Hit us up on the lines. They are open, 813-699-5353. We're talking everything NFL today. We're also going to dive into a little bit of baseball because it is playoff baseball right around the corner here. If anyone has any other questions at all, feel free to drop comments below. Or you can, like I said, go ahead and call in again, 813-699-5353.
So let me ask you, going forward, where do you have Minnesota in your NFC power rankings? I mean, what are your thoughts going forward?
I mean, right now you have to put them at number 1, don't you? They're 4-0. They're doing it with Sean Hill week 1.
Yep.
3 weeks of Sam Bradford. They're doing it with an AP that's out for the entire, and at least until the end of December.
Yep.
Nobody really expected them to be where they're at. And guess what? Blair Walsh, he missed another field goal again. Come on. Get this guy right. What's up with these kickers this year? Am I right or am I right? I mean,
yeah.
But as far as power rankings, though, you have to put Minnesota in the NFC at number 1 right now. I mean, Philadelphia is right up there. Just because they had a bye week, you can't forget about them.
Nope.
They're 3-0. believe it or not, you have Seattle that hasn't been playing great, but they're 3-1 when I looked at their record. You have Green Bay hanging around, some other teams, but then there's been some disappointing teams as well, Frank.
Yep.
You have the Carolina Panthers starting out. What's their record right now?
1-3.
Exactly. We've talked about the Super Bowl hangover. Is this the year of the Super Bowl hangover? What do we expect from Cam? We'll dive into that as well. What do you think right now, your power rankings in the NFC?
Well, I
turn it over to Frank here.
Yeah, I'm probably got Minnesota right there as well because, I mean, look, they beat Green Bay. They beat Carolina. I mean, they're beating teams, legitimate teams. I mean, it's not a 4-0 that's like, it's not a fraudulent 4-0. I mean, they're doing it and they're showing everybody. Again, Denver's blueprint last year. I mean, offensively, their offense did not win them that Super Bowl. And you look at what Minnesota's done this year. I mean, it's about that defense. Make no mistake about it. I mean, if they get any kind of offensive production, that game's pretty much a wrap.
Yeah, I agree. What team stay in the NFC? What team do you think, Frank, has been most? Not even what team. I want you to give me 3 teams if you can. I know that's asking a lot off the top of your head. The 3 teams that have been the most disappointing this season. And I'm not talking about just overall record. Maybe some team that you thought was going to be good or contending for maybe a wild card spot that really hasn't gotten the job done this year. And you look and say like, wow, I was completely wrong on this team, or this team really needs to turn it around.
I think, first off, Arizona Cardinals. I expected more from them. Granted, okay, I'll give you the first game. They played New England. But still, with all the people that New England was missing.
Man, at home with Jimmy Garoppolo, that's a must-win game, actually.
You get Chandler Jones. You drafted Robert Kimdichie. I mean, I was excited. I wanted to see. And they looked, I mean, even Carson Palmer. I mean, they look bad. I mean, in Buffalo, I mean, okay, I get it. Buffalo won this weekend or whatever. But Buffalo beat them down and made them look like they weren't even in the same league. So I don't know if they were reading all the press clippings, in the offseason, like, hey, the Cardinals are going to the Super Bowl. We were in the NFC Championship game. Our next step is the Super Bowl. Well, I mean, they have some work to do. I mean, they need to have one of them come to Jesus meetings or something and talk about it because something is not right on that team.
I completely agree. And what you said about the Cardinals, I actually had, and I don't know if you did, I had the Cardinals representing the NFC preseason in the Super Bowl. So they have a lot of ground to make up the way they started the season. And now, Carson Palmer's in the concussion protocol. I think Drew Stanton's starting on Thursday night because they got a short week.
That's not good.
And you know what? I've seen enough from this offense so far, or lack thereof. I literally traded Larry Fitzgerald to Eric, actually, by the way, for Brandon Marshall.
I told him not to do that trade.
He did it.
Oh my
he
God.
did it. So I got Brandon Marshall headed my way. He has Larry Fitzgerald. Go ahead and take him. I am done with. I mean, not that he's not a great receiver. He is, but you know what? I need to go a different route and rebuild my fantasy team. And I'm happy to make that transaction, especially this Thursday when Drew Stanton's throwing you the football.
I have John Brown on my bench the last couple weeks. Like I had him there.
I think he's had one good week out of 4.
Yep.
Against the Bucks.
I'm done.
Well, who hasn't had a good week against the Bucks? Let's be honest there, Evan.
Yeah. Well, we've got the Yahoo power rankings out right now, and of course, your stupid Patriots are number 1.
Is that updated?
As updated for today.
Wow, that is amazing, actually.
Patriots number 1, Broncos 2, Seattle 3,
I mean,
Minnesota 4. I know you're happy about it.
Well, myself being a big Patriots fan, and obviously Homer. I'm not going to even sugarcoat it. I am a Homer. I would definitely put New England around 3 or 4 right now, just because they have the loss. Granted, whatever. But you do have Brady coming back. You have Rob Gronkowski, which I think everybody's on board with saying, well, he's going to have a good week this week.
I would agree with
hey,
that.
They have not unleashed him.
I would flip-flop that.
Yeah,
Minnesota
they have not
1,
unleashed
New
him.
England 4.
I mean, I would put New England 3 or 4 right now.
I would even parlay, maybe put the Eagles at number 4. The way they've
been
playing.
and I saw ESPN's power rankings right before I got here, actually. They had Denver 1, Minnesota 2, New England 3, Seattle 4, Green Bay 5.
What?
Green Bay 5, and then number 6 was the Philadelphia Eagles, actually.
I don't agree with
So it's pretty crazy that they put. I mean,
I can't believe they put the Packers.
They're not getting any respect.
No, they're not.
Which, I mean, we'll see. Are you a believer still, Frank?
In what, the Packers?
Are you a believer in the Philadelphia Eagles? And Eric, if you're watching in, you shouldn't be because you're on your anniversary right now. Eric, not in the studio
he's
today.
Listening in.
Are you a believer, even though they did hand it to the Pittsburgh Steelers? Is everyone here a believer in the Philadelphia Eagles, or you just think, hey, it's a good start, but I got to see more?
Well, the one thing that Philadelphia has done is
Ryan Jackson. Let's see. The Cardinals play the Niners on Thursday night. Free win for Arizona. I mean, we'll see what happens. But 49ers have a chance to win that game. But here's my question to you, Ryan, if you're still listening. When are they going to put in Colin Kaepernick here? Because I think we've all seen enough of Blaine Gabbert.
Oh man, yeah. Look. Here's what Philadelphia is doing that is impressive. Besides winning, they've led the NFL in time of possession, and defensively, I think they've been number one in defense. So it's hard to say that it's a fluke because I mean the way that they're doing it. But if you look, they're doing it with basically the same defense that was there last year with Chip Kelly. I mean, they didn't bring in any big-name free agents or anything that I know of. It's the same. It's Fletcher, Cox, and those same guys. And it looks like a completely different everything.
Listen, I believe in Carson Wentz just for this week because I picked him up in waivers. I need
You
him to
got
fill in for
him
Drew
in
Brees.
fantasy, so
I
you're
got
a
him in
big believer.
But, putting up an average of 27 points per game, that ain't bad.
No,
That ain't bad at all. So
it really isn't. I'm a wait and see, if you will, on the Philadelphia Eagles, and I'm not going to take anything away from their great start. The first 2 games of the season were against mediocre competition.
Yep.
They really handed it to Pittsburgh, which has shown to be a good team this season thus far. The book's out though. The book's out after 4 games on Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
So teams are really going to start. They did not have any film on this guy whatsoever. But he's also getting around to understand the playbook because let's be honest, he didn't play any preseason.
No, 39 snaps in preseason.
39 snaps. Coming from the college that he came from. Granted, they did run a pro offense. And then you have, on the other hand, Jared Goff that hasn't even sniffed the field yet for a Jeff Fisher offense. And what's going on with the Rams? 3-1? Man.
And 3-1, and Todd Gurley has done basically nothing.
His one good game was against
The Bucs.
So let me ask you, we have some Packers fans that are joined as well. What do you guys think about Green Bay? Their chances to kind of make a big playoff push second half of the season as this rolls around. And is it something that we think that Green Bay is kind of going to figure it out here? Haven't seen much of Randall Cobb yet this season. I have him on my fantasy team, and he's not really producing. But I think that they need to get him more involved. I know that they wanted to get Jordy involved early. The Packers' defense has been –
It's always been the same.
I mean, it hasn't been awful, but it hasn't been good. I'll put it that way.
I look at it this way. The Packers are going to be the Packers. They're going to find a way to get into the playoffs like they did last year. With Randall Cobb back, which is a great thing, and he's not dealing with a shoulder injury like he had last year. With him to take a little bit of that pressure off of Jordy Nelson, who's coming back from the injury, Aaron Rodgers should be slinging it all day. But, the defense has always been a big thing with Green Bay, with them having a weak secondary and everything, but they always do find a way. And now, competing in that division with Minnesota being good now, it's going to be kind of a problem for them to win that. But Green Bay always finds a way to somehow get into the playoffs.
Yeah, I can second that. What do you think, Frank? What do you think about the Packers?
I think the Packers are a playoff team. Are they a Super Bowl contending team? No, I can't go that far. I think too many issues on defense, and the teams that they're going to see in the playoffs, play some defense. I mean, Seattle, Carolina, if they can right the ship.
Yeah,
Minnesota.
but Carolina, the way they're starting is they're 1-3. Arizona. 1-3. I mean, so I don't even know if these teams that we thought were going to be powerhouses and have good defenses are really playing that way. I mean, Ryan, I know you're listening in. No disrespect, but Carolina gave up 27 points to the San Francisco 49ers that don't even have an identity outside Carlos Hyde right now on offense.
Yep, blew a 10-point lead at Denver to Trevor Siemian, and that was his first game, basically, in the NFL. I mean, a 7th-round draft pick. I mean, so they lost 10 points to them.
Yeah.
I said this at the very beginning of the season. This is not going to be the same Carolina team that we saw last year. It's the Super Bowl hangover. And plus, I think with the loss of Josh Norman to the Washington Redskins has probably affected them and their defense. It's not the same.
Here's what I'm wondering about that, because they also had Charles Tillman was on that team last year on defense. Now, granted, he wasn't there for the playoffs. I think he went out like week 12 or 13. But still, he's he's legitimate. Jonathan Stewart's not there. And how much of it is the players, because everybody thought Josh Norman was good, it was a done deal that he was staying, and then all of a sudden there's the breakdown, there's the pointing fingers back and forth. The players on Carolina are looking like, man, what's going on? Because Kawan Short, they haven't been able to get a deal with him, and he'll be a unrestricted free agent after this.
I think the biggest problem they have right now is Cam's getting hit too much. And I don't think he's not going to probably start this week because Derek Anderson's making first-team snaps.
I think he's definitely in the concussion protocol as well.
So that's the main thing they need.
The good thing is they play on Sunday. They don't have the early game on Thursday. At some point, though, they have to address the offensive line. Yeah. And if they have the team that they have right now, especially via trade, or I would think via trade before the deadline, that's something that they might be interested in doing. Somebody that's trying to unload an offensive lineman, a guard. Yeah. Obviously the tackle position is a little harder to address. But if that's something that they do before the deadline, I see that benefiting their team. As far as Josh Norman goes, I mean, based on what I've seen so far, it's hard. I'd be hard pressed to say that they don't miss him. And at first I was like, are they going to miss him? Is he overrated? But he's been pretty good this season on at least demanding coverage, locking down the receiver on his side. Yeah, everybody shouts a safety over the top of to the number one receivers. If you're talking about a Julio Jones, Antonio Brown, ODB anyways, those type of receivers. You can do it less if you have a Josh Norman. But yeah, to me, hands down, they're missing him. That defense is not the same. They're giving up a lot of points to a lot of different teams. The offensive line is not protecting Cam Newton. And granted, their starts 1-3. Listen, nobody wants to win this division at all right now, except with the exception of Atlanta is playing pretty well. Defensively, I think they still have some issues.
Yep.
But the Tampa Bay Bucks, we'll get into them a little bit later. They look like the same old Bucks. Julio and Matt Ryan, though. Matt Ryan right now, I would have to give MVP to if the season ended today, regardless.
Yeah, but Craig, this is how they started out like this last year.
Yeah.
Come on now.
No.
Like this last year, and look how that ended up.
But we are a quarter. Can you believe it? We are a quarter of the way through the football season. 1 quarter. It seems like it was just preseason, man. The offseason goes so slow. We're 1 quarter through the football season. That's how we're doing. Ryan Jackson comments, doesn't matter when they put in Cap. A loaded team 3 years ago have no talent now. He will probably start after a long week, the Thursday game. That's true, but apparently he's not healthy enough, but yet he's healthy enough to be the backup. That makes a lot of sense, Ryan. Have we overrated Aaron Rodgers? His next question, because we were talking about Green Bay. That remains to be seen. I'll tell you who I think we have overrated in a little bit, and he is a well-known quarterback in the NFL. We'll get into that in the Indianapolis Colts, just saying. But Aaron Rodgers, no. I don't think he's overrated, but you do have to ask the question, when is he going to get a pass on putting a mediocre or a little bit above average team together? They've had a little bit of struggles the last couple of years. At this point, I think everybody would have thought he'd at least have a couple more deeper playoff runs than what they've put together thus far. What do you guys think about that question?
Yeah, look, there's plenty of blame for Luck because he's not played very well. Can I blame him more than Ryan Grigson? Man, I don't know, because I got them both. Grigson has to be held accountable for something. If nothing else, not addressing things, not addressing the defense, not addressing that offensive line. Okay, yeah, granted, you took a center in the first round, but you got a rookie center now. You have a franchise-type quarterback. Protect him. Don't. Give him some wide receivers. I know you drafted Philip Dorsett, but you didn't need Philip Dorsett when you drafted him. T.Y. Hilton, okay, I like that. Running backs, Frank Gore. You couldn't find a running back in any of the last couple of years in the draft. Something.
Listen, running back, if we're going to stick on Indianapolis, running back is a position where you can really wait, in my opinion, now. Unless you're getting an AP type of player and you think that's who you're getting. Dallas showed that they went up and got Zeke this year. I think Leonard Fournette's going to be that guy. And maybe a couple other backs. But if you don't have one of the top 2 running backs, and in some drafts, there's been multiple drafts where that player doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
So why not wait till the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round? Undrafted backs are, how many undrafted backs are starting right now? Yeah. Justin Forsett just got cut, and their options are Terrence West and then Kenneth Dixon, which I think he's getting ready to finally come back. Yeah, he played well at Pitt, the University of Pitt, but, he hasn't shown anything yet outside a little bit of burst here and there. So I think, running backs right now are a dime a dozen, and that's
Minnesota. And the Colts still don't have one.
They don't.
Justin Forsett's available.
They might go get him.
They love aging running backs. So.
Well, they do know him better than most since, he has played in that division, Baltimore.
Yeah.
Or at least they played against that competition, many a time. What I will say, though, is you hit the nail right on the head, Frank. Why drop Philip Dorsett when you didn't need him? At that time, you had T.Y. Hilton. You had other players. They actually brought in Andre Johnson at that time as well.
Kobe Fleener was there.
You still have Dante Moncrief on the other side, too.
Yeah, they had Moncrief, and Moncrief have showed that he's definitely a number 2 receiver. So they haven't addressed the offensive line. That's the biggest question. But at the same time, even when they had thought that they had addressed the offensive line, this is the guy that had consistently thrown interceptions. He's in the top 5 in the league in interceptions year after year. He gets to the playoffs, yes, besides from last year, and then we'll see what happens this year. Not a good start, but he's been an early exit as well. He's gotten blown out in the playoffs by whoever, Tom Brady, and others. But yeah, he hasn't been the quarterback that we thought he'd be. And let's not forget again, and I will mention it until anybody calls me out on it, RG3 won Rookie of the Year, not Andrew Luck. And we all know what RG3 is now. You know, he
Out
had
of the league.
lots of potential. I mean, yeah, again, I actually was high on him again this year, and he consistently shows he can't stay healthy. So I don't even know what's going to happen in Cleveland. But at the same time, we're talking Andrew Luck, and I think that, you know, for me personally, I think he's overrated now. And I think Ryan Grigson, yes, he has something to do with it, but how long are you going to have a franchise quarterback and you're not going to be able to protect him or put the weapons around him? So that's going to eventually mess with his psyche.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, and he's gonna get gun shy because I mean he's been taking a beating too. I mean, it's Chuck Pagano will probably take the fall. What I will say is, look, I've already got Jim Harbaugh. He's going to be the coach of the Colts. I mean, at some point he is going to be in Indianapolis. I mean, come on, he played there, captain comeback. I mean,
And you're going to be playing with your boy again. So.
Exactly. He needs. I mean, and look. Andrew Luck has shown that he can at least play in the league. He was 11-5, I think, his first 3 years in the league. So we've seen some skills, but yeah, he has regressed. Now, is that on him? Yeah, some of it is because he's made some bad decisions, and some of it is just his offensive line, and he's taken a beating.
Now, let's parallel that to the question Ryan asked about Aaron Rodgers. Is it time for him not to get a pass, or is it time to say, like, hey, maybe he was a little bit more overrated than we thought? Or, no, you're not ready to go there at all, or you think it's something to do with another organization that, you know what, they have shown that they build within. Yes. They don't make a lot of trades.
Nope.
They don't go out and get these big free agent names normally.
Nope.
They build, they draft, they build their own talent.
They draft well, and if they do bring in a free agent, they're not bringing in a Josh Norman. They're getting, you know, a good role player with good value. Here's the difference between Aaron Rodgers and Andrew Luck, in my opinion. Aaron Rodgers is a Super Bowl champion. And so
so is Trent Dilfer. I'm kidding. Completely kidding. Whoever's listening didn't mean that. Wasn't comparing the two.
I'll give Aaron Rodgers a little more leeway when it comes to these kinds of questions because he has won a championship. Now, does that give him a lifetime pass? No. Has he played as well as he could? Probably not. I think, you know, his game has been a little below level by his standards. And that's what I'm looking at him or judging him by is his own standards. I mean, because let's be honest, he set the bar pretty high. So, but I will give him a little more of a pass just because he's won a Super Bowl. He's made it through and he's been consistently in the playoffs.
So to answer your question, Ryan, RELAX. Relax. He'll be all right. You know he's going to be there in the end of this year, especially how this is kind of the NFC is kind of like breaking down so far this season.
Yeah.
But hey, you know what? For everybody listening, we're going to go ahead and take a little break here. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. Again, we're streaming live on Spreaker.com, SPREAKER.com. You can visit us again at HNL3.com. We'll have this up later as well. If you have any questions, feel free to call in. The lines are open, 813-699-5353, or drop some comments below, and we'll go as we go. So we're going to put this on pause for a couple of minutes. Again, go ahead and listen to us. Whole nother level.
What is going on, guys? We're back from break. Yeah, my voice sounds a little bit better because I've been drinking tea. So I want to ask you guys a question. What do you guys usually do on a Sundays?
Going to go on a limb and say watch football.
Watch football. Where do you guys watch football at?
A little place called Old School.
Oh, yeah, Old School. That place down right next to Hollywood 20. So, yeah, we are there every single Sunday now. We are sponsored by Old School, which we want to thank Carl. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Carl.
Thank
Old
you.
School.
So, you know,
every Sunday.
We want you guys to come out every Sunday. And they open at 11. You know what's good about 11 o'clock? It means you get the drink at 11 o'clock.
They serve beverages, adult style, at
Before
11 a.m.
Buy one, get one.
And,
yes, buy one, get one free. You know what, guys? If you guys want a good pregame show, and forget about us, if you guys just want to watch football in general and drink beer, come to Old School every Sunday. We're doing the pregame show from 11:30 up until kickoff. We're answering questions. We're getting everybody engaged. We go through every single game, the whole slate. We give our picks for the day as well. Like I said, answering any last-minute fantasy questions. We probably try to keep you updated. This Sunday, actually, the Jacksonville game was in London. We were doing kind of a little bit of play-by-play on that. Everybody was seeming to enjoy that as well.
And what's cool thing about it is this Saturday we're filming a commercial outside of Old School, so if you guys want to be extras for that as well, you'll be in the mix with us. And the girls from Old School are not, they're not too bad to look at either. So, come on down to Old School every Sunday morning at 11 o'clock. We start at 11:30. We want you there at 11 that way. It's geared up to showtime. You guys are there with us up until kickoff. Enjoy the food, drinks, and all the atmosphere as well. Old School's a pretty cool place. I mean,
they have all the games.
They have all the games there. I mean, they've got a great menu of food, and plus, buy one, get one free beers. I can't eat. Look, and there's also a lot of stuff they do during the games. They have football pools you can win money onto. There's cornhole outside. There's the giant Jenga, and you got us as well. So come on down every Sunday, 11 o'clock. We'll be there doing the pregame show. So I want to go into, and this pains me.
Can you hear me now? They said they have no audio right now.
They have no audio? The audio's on.
I have no audio either. On Facebook, can anybody hear me? Just say yes or a thumbs up, and then we can continue. If not, we're going to continue anyways until I understand this.
Everything should be
like
fine.
I said, first time, real rookie to the game over here on Facebook Live. Not sure why the audio's not on.
Your audio on your phone or the show?
Says nope, nothing. My phone, I don't know.
Oh, your phone.
You know how to do this? Here, give this to you for a second.
All right, so
the audio on? You can figure that out. Jesus.
Still
Don't put me and technology together, I'll tell you that,
Aaron,
listeners.
there's no audio through the phone or through the show?
Show or phone.
Show or phone?
Show or phone. Well, they probably can't hear you saying show. Just lip it.
Show or phone? Answer me!
So funny.
I'm getting nothing back. Anyway, so
Here.
I want to get...
Should we stop it and go? How about this?
I don't know.
Finish.
Yeah, start a new one.
Cancel.
So I want to go into the game that, as much as it pains me to go into, is the Bucks Broncos game this past Sunday. Listen, I wasn't expecting much from the Bucks. You're going up against the Super Bowl champions. You're going up against that defense. I was expecting a good, at least decent game from Jameis Winston and company, but what I saw was lots of dumb mistakes and 2 interceptions to Aqib Talib that resulted in points.
Hey, listen, Aqib Talib really stuck it to his old team. You know what? He went to Tampa. He was ready to play, and he showed that he's still an elite cornerback for that defense. The Denver Broncos, along with the Minnesota Vikings, I said it earlier, they're playing the 2 best defensive footballs that there is. Defensive footballs. I can't even speak right now.
I know.
I need some of that tea that you're drinking, man.
With Simeon going down too, and then having Paxton Lynch come in and then shred your defense.
Aaron, can you hear us on Facebook Live?
There's a problem in Bucksville right now, and there's no finger to point because there's multiple fingers to point at now. Winston had problems.
Yep.
Defense had problems.
Yep.
Running game had problems. I know they're saying, the culture of losing. It's still the culture of losing right now. And now you face Carolina in Carolina. Now it's a different Carolina team, of course. So we're going to see 2 1-3 teams go at it. Oh, my God. You're spilling everything.
Let's do it.
You got it. 2 1-3 teams going at you. I want to ask you fellas.
Yes.
You got the 1-3 Carolina Panthers with probably Derek Anderson starting.
Okay.
And now you've got the 1-3 Buccaneers with a interception-prone Jameis Winston who's thrown 9 picks within, 4 games now? 5 games? So let me ask you. Bucks going into Tampa, going into Carolina. What are we going to see out of Carolina first, and then what are we going to see out of Tampa? I go to you, Frank. What are we going to see out of Carolina in this game?
Honestly, I have no idea. I mean, this is the game that...
It's a big question. It's a flip of the coin game this week.
This is the game I want to see because if Carolina goes in the tank on this game, something's wrong there right now, but then there's something really wrong that goes beyond, something in that locker room is just not right. I'll give them a pass on a couple of the games because, look, Minnesota's legit. No shame in that. Okay, Denver, Super Bowl champs. All right, I get it, but San Francisco, you gave up. I know Chip's an offensive guy, but, come on, 27 points?
You've got Derek Anderson starting now. If you're Ron Rivera, and Derek Anderson's not really a backup QB. We all saw that on Sunday. So are you focusing more on the ground game, which, Jonathan Stewart's going to be back? Are you going to be focusing more on the ground game? But Tampa's got a great run defense, horrible secondary. What are you going to be more focusing on with Carolina's offense?
I want to see how different it is because Derek Anderson is a completely different kind of quarterback than Cam Newton. You would have to tailor that offense for Cam, kind of make it a little collegey, kind of spread a little bit. I want to see how it's different. I want to see where Kelvin Benjamin is.
He's been anemic the past 2 games.
Exactly. Now technically this is his first year in the league, his real first year of actually playing because, he was injured his whole first year. So, he's still a rookie in that regard, so there's going to be a learning curve. But look, I think this is a winnable game for the Bucs. Granted, the Bucs, they had some bad games, but okay, Denver. Again, no shame in that. The Arizona beatdown was kind of, little disconcerting. And the Rams game was
inexcusable. Let's not get on the Rams game.
Yeah,
Fired up.
But look, this is a get-right game for the Bucs. The Bucs can win this game, and it'll be a win on the road. If they go in there and play, I think it'll be good for the Bucs. And then it also tells me, basically start bailing out on the Carolina Panthers off that bandwagon.
Listen, you hit the nail on the head. Whichever team loses this is completely out, in my opinion.
Yep.
You fall to 1-4, you have little to no chance. Yep. Barring some miracle, you saw KC rip off 9 or 10 last year in a row, maybe even 11 in a row, or something crazy. But it just doesn't happen. No. To fall to that in a division where Atlanta right now is 3-1, that'd be a hard task to come back and win the division, and unless you see the epic collapse like they did last year. But what I would say is I expect Carolina to win this game. I really do, just because they're at home, their backs are against the wall. This is given that Cam Newton passes concussion protocol.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I like Derek Anderson or trust him enough, even with, he's a pretty decent backup, but that's what he is as a backup. Yeah. So I would take my chances with Jameis Winston to pull this one out. Granted, Evan, you said that Jameis Winston isn't playing the type of football that he needs to be playing. But you know what? Somebody in the NFL is playing worse than him. That's Ryan Fitzpatrick. He has 10 interceptions. 10 interceptions over 4 games. And that's not counting fumbles.
We talked about this last week about where is your hand on the panic button for this team. Okay. Everybody needs to relax about sophomore slump. He's not the same. He's not the quarterback. This guy's the second year in his NFL career. Okay, he's still learning a system. Okay, going into Carolina, this is a winnable game for them, only because this is a different Carolina defense. There's no Josh Norman. You still have Mike Evans. You still have Vincent Jackson. Cameron Brate's been nothing but money as their tight end lately. So I have no problems with their offense, and if Jameis Winston can limit the mistakes and limit the stupid, dumb throws that he does. And I know he's trying to put a lot on his back because there's no Doug Martin right now. And Charles Sims, he's a mediocre second-tier running back at best. But you have to limit those mistakes. You need to stop trying to do the long balls and try to do those dump passes for 10 to 15 yards and manage the game. And the one big problem is the defense. The run defense is stout. Okay, Bucs have a good run defense. So going against Jonathan Stewart and Fozzie. But their secondary, it's a great name for Fozzie Whitaker. But as
Camera's artist Payne. You got Fozzie, Fozzie and Payne going at it.
But what will we see out of Carolina? And if Derek Anderson does start, is Carolina's pretty much their only weapon? Two weapons is Greg Olsen and Kelvin Benjamin, but Kelvin Benjamin has had nothing the past 2 weeks.
I'll tell you, this has been a really weird season, and it might be just because more than ever now, a lot of us are interested in fantasy football. But what I'll say is consistency, man.
Yeah.
You have Kelvin Benjamin that had 0 catches 2 weeks ago. You have DeAndre Hopkins that literally had 1 catch, I believe, for 4 or 6 yards this past week. Mm-hmm. You had Des Bryant, which hasn't been able to get it together the entire season. You have a Randall Cobb, which is basically taking a extreme backseat to Jordy Nelson coming back. Another player that, just look what he did 2 weeks ago. 1 catch, 16 yards. And then this week, 10 catches, 300 yards.
Matthew Berry said
and we're talking about Julio Jones. I mean, you just have no idea what these receivers are going to do this day. It's nuts, the lack of consistency amongst great wide receivers. We're talking about top 10, top 15 wideouts in the game right now. Yeah. I mean, you've seen Allen Robinson. Where's he been? Then you see one good game. I mean, you could pretty much say it across the board. You can throw tight ends in that conversation too.
Yeah.
Gronk hasn't done absolutely anything. Yeah, granted, Brady hasn't been back, but he was on the field for 70 snaps last game.
I'm glad you brought up Julio Jones. If Tampa Bay can do what Atlanta did with Julio Jones dropping 300 yards on them, the Bucs are going to be okay. And I'm glad you said that about inconsistency, especially when it comes to fantasy. Matthew Berry said it best in his podcast last week. He's like, give me somebody that's paid to be consistent. He's like, going into this season with all these players just having up and down weeks, give me somebody that's going to produce every single week. And he's like, right now, there really isn't anybody that's consistent.
At the wide receiver position, I mean, you'd have to throw in some names like, weirdly enough, Marvin Jones has had a really good year.
He's tearing it up.
Michael Crabtree, and everybody thought that was going to be Amari Cooper. But these are named players that you're taking in the 7th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th round.
Mike Wallace,
exactly. And when you look at the running backs, you can almost mirror the exact same thing. Outside of Zeke Elliott, which has had a pretty good start to the season, I mean, you're talking about the top rushers being Isaiah Crowell, LeGarrette Blount, and Melvin Gordon. I mean, these are players that, again, you've taken in the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, sometimes in 10-team leagues. Who even knows if they got drafted? You know what I'm saying? So at the running back, wide receiver, I mean, it's super inconsistent right now. For fantasy owners, it's kind of disheartening and kind of, puts you on edge each week. But that's what makes it great. You just never know any given Sunday. And if going back to the game that we were talking about, if Mike Evans can have half the day that Julio Jones had against that Carolina defense, let's be honest, the Bucs are going to have a chance to win that game.
Exactly.
And that's all you can ask for, is to go on the road, a divisional opponent where both teams are in a must-win situation.
You have
the opportunity to win the game.
They have to win this game, because if you go into your bye week as 1-4, you're done. You can't go in your bye week as 1-4. There's no way. You can't do it.
Well, and you look at the landscape of the NFC. I mean, we all pretty much agree that there's going to be 2 playoff teams from the NFC North.
Yep.
So that one of those wild cards is done. And you look out west. I mean, look, if Arizona can turn it around, or even I hate to say the Rams, 3-1. I mean, look, that last wild card spot, because it's probably not coming out of the NFC South.
All right, Craig, it is your time to speak your mind. I've been actually waiting a few hours.
This is what irritates me. No Facebook Live right now. I didn't even want to go on the thing today. Never done it. And now I'm on here trying to figure it out so I can really tell people how I feel about the game here.
So,
and for whatever reason, I don't know if I'm just lack thereof.
See your.
I mean, what's going on here? Look at maybe it's in the general settings or something. You know what I'm saying? A little Facebook Live audio. How do we turn that on? Is there a microphone on button?
No, there should be.
Maybe go to settings or something there.
Well,
it didn't happen before. You need to go to my page,
I'm going to your
live
page right
check-in.
All right, here we go.
Because it's not like yours. I don't know. I got to update that thing.
Well, I have a Samsung.
Well, yeah. I don't know. Maybe the iPhone's just being... It was working the first time. I don't know why it stopped working here. We're having technical difficulties over here for Facebook Live, believe it or not.
Thing.
Did you find it?
Well, I'm on
3, 2, 1.
right now.
Does that have to be that loud?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
I guess. All right, you should be going now.
All right. I'm on.
I'm
I'm on camera.
I'm not
I don't
holding
know.
this forever.
I don't know. I'm on camera. If people say they can't hear me, then you
then
deal with that.
They need to tune into the show instead of Facebook Live.
Well, I mean, people don't know that. So I'm on again.
All right, so
who knows if you'll be able to hear me? But
of course, I'm going to let him loose, as Eric Wilson would say.
Yes.
The one, the only, Craig Cousins, everybody.
Thank you.
Your Patriots.
The great debate.
Your Patriots put a goose egg up against Rex
They
Ryan.
did. Okay.
And the Bills.
Yeah, give it all to me now, Evan. Give it all to me now.
That's all
Russell,
I've got.
can you hear me?
That's all I've got. It's just, you know how big Rex Ryan's chest has now gotten because he's puffing it out because he took it to Rex Ryan. He put up a goose egg. When was the last time the Patriots put up a goose egg, Craig? 1993?
No, it wasn't 93.
Was it 93?
No, I mean, it's definitely been about 4 or 5 years. I know we did in Buffalo 31-0. We got blown out. That was actually the year that we won the Super Bowl. But it's been a little while. It's been a little while since we put the goose egg out. But what I will say is the wait is over. The proverbial thing that I would like to say right now is, you know what? There's no more Deflategate talk. No more Deflategate talk. See, no audio here. I'm going to give this to Evan here, and he's going to look in the settings or something. What's that little deal in the top there? What's that? Anyways, Deflategate is over. I'm going now. Deflategate is over. You know what that means, Frank?
It means that Tom Brady's coming back.
It means Tom Brady is coming back. You know what that else means, Frank?
It means that Tom Brady's coming back.
It means that Tom Brady... You know what else, Frank? It means that Tom Brady is coming back. And he's not only coming back, he is coming back with a vengeance, believe it or not. He's coming back with a vengeance, and I can't wait to see him play Cleveland this week. A Cleveland team that last time they played, guess what? Cleveland won. Brady lost to Cleveland in 2008. Maybe it wasn't 2008. It was probably 2010 maybe. 2010 or 2012. They lost in Cleveland. Okay?
I kind of thought that New England would be 3-1 at this point.
Yes.
I just didn't expect that one loss to be to Buffalo. I thought it was going to be the Cardinals in week 1. But the record is still the same, and to come out 3-1 with no Brady and all the other injuries and the players that we're missing is actually pretty good. And then, oh, by the way, you're getting basically the best quarterback in the NFL back.
I'm glad that you brought that up, Frank, because you know what? He is the best quarterback in the NFL. His numbers showed it again last year. People are going to be like, he's old. He only has a year left. Guess what? He has way more than a year left. Outside of Cam Newton, which had his best year, by his standards, by any league standards, but guess what he's done this season? Regressed so far.
Yeah.
Outside of Cam Newton, Tom Brady had the best stats last year of any starting quarterback in the NFL. If you don't believe me, go look the numbers up. He had the least. I think he had like 7 interceptions on the season with 30-something touchdowns. Great record. He's coming back, but he's not only coming back, he's coming back with a vengeance, ladies and gentlemen. He's coming back. He's going to be mad. He has a chip on his shoulder again like he had when he went in the 6th round.
Oh, yeah.
Let me not bring that back up, okay? He has a chip on his shoulder because, first off, he shouldn't have been suspended. Deflategate was an absolute joke. And Roger Goodell is going to have to hand him the Lombardi Trophy at the end of the season. You know what this means? That means for the offense is getting better. You're going to see more of Chris Hogan. You're going to see a lot more Gronk, Martellus Bennett, Julian Edelman, Danny Amendola, Malcolm Mitchell. Everybody gets better. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, the offensive line's playing well. You know why? Because Brady delivers the ball quick. And it makes the offensive line look well. And then all of a sudden that defense that gave up a lot of yardage, although only 16 points last week to the Buffalo Bills, you know what that says to them? Hey, guess what? We got a lot better. Do you know why? Because they're on the field less. Because and they're playing with a lead, which makes what better? The pass rush better. It makes the cornerbacks better. It makes everybody better.
Ninkovich is coming back.
Ninkovich is back. And you know what he said? He's actually ready to go. I look at that situation, I'm almost like, did he really take those knowing that he has a quicker healing time and that he was going to miss the first 6 games that are going to put him on PUP, but taking those supplements, per se, now he only missed 4 games. His tricep is healed. It's almost a no-brainer. I wonder if Belichick was behind that one. You're also getting Deion Lewis is just hitting the practice field this week. He'll be back in a couple of weeks.
I think James White is coming back too.
James White's still there.
Yeah,
but you're getting healthy on offense. You haven't had any hiccups so far as far as injuries for the most part. You dodged a lot of bullets. So going into the season, a quarter of the season gone, 3-1. You get everybody coming back. You get the legend that is Tom Brady. I'm sorry, Cleveland. He might put a 50 burger up.
Craig, let me ask
you.
He
might put a 50 burger up in Cleveland.
Let me ask you a question, Craig. When are we going to see the explosion of Gronk? We haven't seen.
You're going to see it this week.
Okay.
You know what? It's almost
Fired
like
up on this.
I really am, because you know what? If you're playing daily fantasy leagues, put Brady in your lineup, put Gronk in your lineup. You're like, yeah, put Gronk in my lineup. He's expensive. Why would I do that? And he's been doing nothing. I am almost guaranteeing that he goes off this week. He's going to have.
Well, it's Cleveland. Of course he's going to go.
Cleveland might be the best 0-4 team I've ever seen, to believe it or not. With what they have talent-wise on that team and to be in every game.
You never know. They might make an in-game trade with Hugh Jackson. Look, can I get either Jacoby Brissett or Garoppolo for you?
Garoppolo might go to them, but they didn't want Garoppolo to play this week against them. So that, barring what happens in this game, they might trade him after the fact. Who knows?
Kessler's not actually played that bad. He's put up decent numbers. I mean, granted, given what he has to work with, but his numbers have not been bad considering he's a rookie.
Yeah, completely agree.
Speaking of that, of the Cleveland Browns, I feel bad for them. That call with Duke Johnson not having the ball. Did you guys see that one?
I did.
Where the ref said it was Redskins' ball, even though Duke Johnson came up with it, showed it to the refs, but they still called it the Washington Redskins' ball. I'm sorry, Cleveland. They had a chance to win that game. They were going neck and neck with the Washington Redskins until, I would say, that play, and then it was just downhill. And
then, again, sorry, Cleveland, and everybody knows why. You have high hopes for the season. You lose RG3, which you put a lot of stock into in the preseason. You named him a starter. You get Josh McCown, which, it could have been a lateral move there. He gets injured. You're on Cody Kessler now, which, based on his preseason, you didn't even know if he was going to make the roster.
Yeah.
You have high expectations. You have Corey Coleman, which played awesome in preseason. He goes down with injury. So you're like, okay, we're managing it. Terrell Pryor's been playing good. We have Isaiah Crowell.
Great waiver wire pickup, Terrell Pryor.
Oh, absolutely. So then, the Cleveland fans are giving themselves some reassurance. You know what? We got Terrell Pryor. He's playing good. Maybe we'll get Corey Coleman back in a few weeks. But you know what? We have Josh Gordon, man. And Josh Gordon is going to come back and light it up like he did the game we saw in preseason. And you know what he does? Rehab. He pulls the Amy Winehouse, baby. And go to rehab.
This time it was not weed. This time it was not weed.
Did they come out and say what it was?
Alcohol. Going to rehab for alcohol.
I mean, but can he be suspended? Why? How can Goodell suspend him for alcohol?
Well, the league is saying they're not going to suspend him. Even the Browns said they're going to keep him on the team for now. They're not going to let him go.
Well, they tried to trade him up until the
They
point,
did.
and I
They
think
did.
that put a little damper on what was going on. Supposedly, they were demanding a first-round pick. Like, come on, dude. Dude's one strike away from maybe not playing in the NFL ever again. You're going to demand a first-round pick for him? Yeah, first-round talent, but, grade A head case at the same time.
I see no punishment from the NFL. If he voluntarily checked himself into rehab for this, then
for some reason, I keep scrolling through thinking there has to be another drug situation.
Said alcohol.
It has to be more than alcohol.
They said it was alcohol.
Well, see, I don't even want to drop him now from fantasy just in case he comes back at some point.
We'll be back.
Well, why now? I don't have a problem with going to rehab. I mean, he needs it. He's been suspended. He's had problems with weed and everything. But why now? You wait to go to rehab basically right before you can come back.
Yeah,
and
you're
play.
a week away.
Exactly. What were you doing the other 3 or 4 weeks? I mean,
He was drinking.
Exactly. Yeah, I guess so.
He was probably just watching the Browns games like, oh, my God, this is bad.
I think I'm gonna
Give me
go
the
to
bottle
rehab.
at this point. I think the Browns might have actually convinced him to go to rehab just by watching him. They drank he drank himself stupid watching that.
I can't go back and play with these guys. Man, I'm going to rehab.
He's like, you know what? Maybe if I drink a lot, check myself into rehab,
Get released.
I might end up on a good team. This might be what my career needs right now. Jesus, man. I feel bad. Outside, okay, the only reason why I don't feel extremely bad for Cleveland is because the Cavs won a championship, and they still have Ohio State. If they didn't have those things working for them, man, that city is...
Don't forget about the Indians.
The Indians are playing good.
Oh,
this
okay,
year.
yeah,
Indians are
that's
playing
true. So, I guess you could say that Cleveland Browns are the only team that really isn't playing bad right now. Or good, I meant, for that matter. But, yeah.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. When we come
Let's
back,
do it.
we
Break
are
time.
going to go into some baseball playoffs.
Yes, we need to touch on the baseball playoffs, and I also want to get Frank's take on how Pittsburgh bounced back from getting demolished by Philadelphia to demolishing another team in the Kansas City Chiefs. So I want to get his take on that when we come back. Again, Old School Bar and Grill every Sunday. And again, of course, this Sunday, 11:30, 11 o'clock, doors open. We start off 11:30 up until kickoff. Come in, have some drinks, 2 for 1, listen to pregame. We're getting you involved. Come out and support us. Again, listen to us on Spreaker.com, HNL3.com, RawTalkOnline.com.
Phone lines are open, 813-699-5353. Guys, we'll be right back in just a minute. All right, guys, we are back from the break. It is whole nother level. We had a couple of great questions during the break.
Yes, we did.
Craig, what were those questions?
Well, we have a question here from Jose that wants to know if we think the Vikings are actually going to take it all the way this year. So, Frank, we'll start you on that if you'd like to take that one. Starting off 4-0, we got Sam Bradford at the helm. We talked about it a little bit earlier, how they're doing. Do you think they have what it takes to take it all this year, or do you think that they'll go pretty decently far and then kind of stumble at the end?
Look, they need to fix that kicker, because, they won, technically, by all accounts, Minnesota won a playoff game last year. They had that game. All he has to do is make a chip shot. What was it? It was like 20 yards. And they win. They might
Blair
have
Walsh effect, yes.
They might have had a Super Bowl last year. It's possible. At least they would have gone and played another game. Look, with that defense can travel. They can win on the road. Look, and their competition right now, Seattle. If you look at the landscape in the NFC,
I still think Green Bay and some of these other teams are going to be there.
Oh yeah,
in the end, but yeah.
Do they have a shot? Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. I would agree with you. I think that they do have a shot. I think it's predicated on Sam Bradford staying healthy, though, because I think that he's actually the perfect piece for this offense, which when the trade went down, everybody's like, oh, man, Minnesota, they just really bit the bullet on that trade, man. Philadelphia, that trade's all the way. But, I think that they have done enough now to say, yeah, it was well worthwhile in that trade. And I think, Jose, to answer your question, I think that they can contend. Do they have enough to see what it takes? I have to see what happens, the next quarter of the season, the next half of the season, to kind of see where other teams trend and where this team goes. They have another tough task, again, playing Houston Texan team that is coming into Minnesota, but you have DeAndre Hopkins. He's going to be hungry. He didn't have a great game last game. Yep. The defense has been playing really well. They bounced back from that loss from New England, so we'll see what happens there. And then I think the other question was a fantasy question, actually. Do you think it's possible that we consider starting Jameis Winston going to Carolina over Matt Ryan, which has been the top fantasy quarterback thus far, but they are going to Denver, playing one of the best defenses in the National Football League. So, Frank, what do you think on that?
Yeah, I would consider it just for that reason because, look, I mean, Matt Ryan, statistically, by all accounts, he's been the best quarterback in the NFL so far this season, by his numbers. But he's about to see a defense that, he hasn't seen yet. And, look, that Denver defense can make a lot of quarterbacks and wide receivers not look very good. I think Jameis has a more favorable matchup.
I do. I actually, you know what? At first I was like, man, how can you bench Matt Ryan? And normally I would never do that.
Yeah.
But, the amount of points that Carolina gave up to Cleveland, 27, or San Francisco, 27. Yep. I mean, Julio Jones just went for 300 yards. What's Mike Evans going to do? It's almost like you have to start Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
Especially because Aqib Talib is going to, shadow Julio Jones. So he might not have that big of a day over there. So then you're looking at, can Mohamed Sanu step up and have a good game? Justin Hardy, maybe the running backs. And I also just heard today that Telvin Coleman, one of their best pass catchers out of the backfield, might not play because he has sickle cell disease and that mile-high air. A lot of people have issues with that. We saw that Ryan Clark could never play when the Steelers went up there. So that's one of the things that has to be considered as well. So, yes, to answer your question, I think we're all on the same page. I mean, let's see what you have to say here, Evan.
I'm going to go with the three of you guys just because of what you guys said. I mean, it is a risky play, granted how bad he's been playing the past couple weeks. But if Matt Ryan can do that, you should have a little bit of success against Carolina, and especially with those two guys with Vincent Jackson. And
so we're all on board this week. We're going with the actual underdog fantasy play here, Jameis Winston this week at Carolina over Matt Ryan at Denver. So, yes, go ahead and start that and see how we do on that pick there. I still don't know if we're getting audio on that phone there because nobody's commenting either way.
Well, you got 3 people on there.
Right now. So. Before there was like 30-something. How funny is that? Or at least 15 at a time.
There's no audio.
And I cut it off because I'm a Facebook Live virgin. This was my first time even trying it. So if anybody wants to comment down there, we'd be happy to answer any questions and at least let us know if we have audio back on that. Again, 813-699-5353 if you want to call in to the line. We are also live on Spreaker.com. Search HNL3 on there. You'll find us on that as well. So let's just dig right back into what we were talking about a little bit prior to. I want to get your take, Frank, on the Pittsburgh Steelers. They got straight demolished in Philadelphia. I'm surprised, Eric, if he might be listening. Maybe he's not because he's his anniversary. But if he is, he has a big smile on his face. He's still riding high off that win. But they showed some great poise, some great bounce back, if you will. Mike Tomlin, the head coach, said, hey, that's not our play. We're going to come back this week. We're going to show us what it's about. Granted, giving Le'Veon Bell that he got back as well, and he had a great game. So, what I think is that Le'Veon Bell, Mike Tomlin, Pittsburgh Steelers, bounce-back game. This is your team, Frank. What did you see from your team and moving forward, and what do you expect from this team?
It was good to see because they needed to do that. They needed to show that they were mad. I mean, if they weren't pissed about that Philadelphia game, then something is wrong because they didn't. I mean, Mike Tomlin is known as a motivator and a defensive coach, and they weren't motivated or defensive in that game. I mean, it was just it was garbage. And look, that's happened to Mike Tomlin. Look, I like Mike Tomlin. I think Mike Tomlin's a good coach, but when people talk about him, a lot of people say he's a top 5 coach in the NFL. I mean, he's a Super Bowl champion. He's been to 2, but if you're a top 5 coach in the NFL, you don't come out and have those kind of games against a rookie head coach and a rookie quarterback from a Division II school. So, I mean, it's almost,
but look at the bounce back they did this week against a Kansas City team, which has been playing pretty good football.
I was glad to see it. Look, Le'Veon Bell being back is great. He had 178 all-purpose yards. He's maybe the best pass-catching running back in the NFL. He's up there, definitely top 3 or 4. He can run. He helps the passing game as well. Him being back there.
It's funny. They started the game. He spread out his wide receiver on the first few plays of the game, and they had D'Angelo Williams in the game at running back still. That's a different dynamic that we haven't really seen in the past. They didn't use D'Angelo a lot, but he was used as a decoy a lot.
Yeah.
So that was good to see. And then, you have the emergence, again, of a Sammy Coates that was making some plays down the field.
Yep.
You have Wheaton back.
Hey, Wheaton he had a couple of scores too. I
Yeah.
mean, he spun that one dude around. I mean, I felt kind of bad for him. I think it was the rookie. I mean, just
Oh,
basically-
they took advantage of him all night long. They said, "Who is?" I think was it Parker?
DJ White. I
DJ
think,
White, maybe?
for,
Yeah.
for the Chiefs.
For the Chiefs, they're like, "Who's this dude covering?" Okay, we're just going to go at him every single time. And then again, it was also the fact that Le'Veon Bell was back. Big Ben was just slinging it. Antonio Brown, like you had said, Evan, you were playing against him in fantasy.
I was getting nervous.
You were getting nervous because you didn't want that to his first quarter production was
my
unreal.
God. Well, I won 0-3 going into this week, and I'm playing him, and he's got 2 scores within like the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, you're like, okay, this is over. Good night. I'm going to bed.
Yeah, I was like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Single coverage. I mean, what was Kansas City's defensive game plan? I mean, Bob Sutton's. He's a defensive guy. I mean, it's like single coverage, really? Okay. I mean, if you're gonna single cover Antonio Brown, I mean, it's like you're almost asking for it, or you get basically whatever you deserve.
Kansas City's another team that I can't really put my finger on right now because everybody forgets that San Diego Chargers were demolishing this team week 1. They were up 20 points on this team. They lost Keenan Allen. Things started going awry. They end up losing that game. And now you see them get blown out again by a Pittsburgh team. I don't really know what identity right now Kansas City has. They better hope Jamal Charles comes back next week and really plays well, because I know that Spencer Ware hasn't been playing too bad, but you got to get an identity there, and I don't really know if they have it now. Alex Smith is, he's back to being basically tunnel vision Alex Smith, where he's looking at his first read. You have to look off that first read, check your second, third, fourth options, and you got to get better play from your defense, or you're not going to be in any game.
Yeah.
And Andy Reid has done a great job over the years of bringing a good defense. So I don't know what's going on there right now, but I would have to think that they probably get that fixed here shortly.
Yeah, hopefully they should have the kind of game next week that Pittsburgh had this week, because if Kansas City's not looking themselves in the mirror and upset about that game and that performance, then they have a problem there too.
No, I completely agree with you.
They're going up against the Raiders in Oakland.
And the Raiders are an improved team. We haven't really touched on them, but again, they actually knocked off a Baltimore Ravens team, which was 3-0. We didn't really know what to expect from Baltimore or from the Raiders. The Raiders have shown pretty good poise this season, getting to a 3-0. The play of Derek Carr, I mean, people are talking about, is this guy a top 5 quarterback now, in the league? And the way Crabtree has really come on, everybody thinking Amari Cooper's the number 1 over there, man. It's 1A and 1B right now, neck and neck. Obviously, for fantasy purposes, Michael Crabtree's having a way better season so far.
I would say not put him in the top 5 just yet. I don't know what's going on. It says no sound again. I think it's your iPhone. I know.
And that's probably why nobody is watching.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, yeah. So we'll just go ahead and get this off. We'll figure this out next week. Hey, listen to us on Spreaker.com, peeps.
I would
You know what
say
I'm saying?
let's wait to the end of the season to put Derek Carr in that top 5. I mean, he's playing pretty well now.
Yeah.
And with the reemergence of Michael Crabtree, 3 touchdowns. And I put him on my bench for fantasy, but I still won. But I would wait till the discussion till they after the season see what Derek Carr does.
Yeah, and when people say this, I almost want to look him in the eye and say, okay, well, you put him in the top 5. Who is your top 5? Because, I'm not giving up on some of the other players yet. Obviously, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, despite his defense, Drew Brees, Ben Roethlisberger, got to put him in the top 5. I mean, there's other. I mean, I'd take Phillip Rivers over Derek Carr. I'd take some other people as well. But you'd have to. And he's definitely in the conversation at least now.
What I like is because he's on a young team that's going to get better every year.
This team is trending up.
Yes.
It really is.
The only issues they really have is on their defense, but that's going to get better. Jack Del Rio is a defensive guy.
Yeah.
So with the young core that they have, they're going to get better each year. So we'll see. I mean, look, they're still trending up right now. So we'll see at the end of the season. And plus, they're in a division where I had them as a dark horse. I know you did have them as a dark horse. So we'll see.
I had them winning the division.
Yeah.
Actually.
So we'll see at the end of the season.
I had them winning the division. I had Denver making the playoffs. Right now, based on the standings, it's reversed. But if the season ended today, both teams would be in the playoffs there. And it's interesting to kind of look at the landscape right now and see some of the teams that we thought were going to be good, and they're struggling. Some of the other teams that have kind of come on a little bit. And in looking at these races right now and thinking, man, are they even going to be these races, or is it almost going to be a runaway right now with some of these teams? I mean, we all thought in the NFC that the Bucs were going to have a possible shot at making a wild card, and you don't know what's really happening in the NFC East right now, but. Now the Giants start off good. Now they're trending down. The Redskins start off bad. Now they're trending up. Dak is done a very good job. No turnover. Hey, let's give Dak Prescott, let's give Carson Wentz some credit here. Through the 3 and 4 games they played, no turnovers. No
rookies,
turnovers.
I mean,
You know what
rookies.
even for anybody, you know what that shows you? If you don't turn the ball over, you have a chance to be in and win every single game in the NFL.
I really thought it was funny where they go into this draft. A lot of people are like, well, this isn't really a strong quarterback class. And these guys have proven everybody wrong so far. And we still have yet to see Jared Goff, too.
Yeah,
No, I completely agree. And Case Keenum is actually, I mean, he's managing games, believe it or not. They're 3-1 with Case Keenum at the helm. Brian Quick made some plays. You know, he had 2 touchdowns last week. Granted, only 2 catches, but he spread the field a little bit. Yeah, Kenny Britt, Tavon Austin. Who knows? It's funny, when I look at this team, I'm thinking if they had a better offensive coordinator that could get the best out of each player, there's no reason why Tavon Austin shouldn't be a human joystick moving all over the offense.
Yeah.
He showed it at West Virginia. He showed that he could be running back, wide receiver, and quarterback at literally throwing passes at West Virginia. Why he's not utilized more, moving him around, putting him on the end, putting him in the slot, doing end arounds in the backfield, putting him at running back at times.
Because you have to account for him. I mean, if you see him
have
moving
to
around, I mean,
have to, and I think that they could do a better job of putting in an offensive scheme that will throw teams off. And especially now that you have Kenny Britt and Brian Quick making plays down the field, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to do that. Get a little production from your tight end, though. Kendricks is playing okay. But that's another team that, you know, I wouldn't be upset if they took a chance at Josh Gordon. Why not? Yeah. If the Browns want to get rid of him, if he's not suspended again for a year, we don't really know.
I mean, you're looking at it as a low risk.
Or try to trade for a
risk.
wide receiver. If they're 3-1, if say the trade deadline, I mean, I always forget when it is in the NFL. So say if it's week 8 or week 9,
somewhere, yeah.
You know, I think it's around there. I think it's week 10 at the most. If they still have a winning record by that deadline, they think that they can do something. Why not try to trade for a receiver to a team that, you know, really is trending downward and thinking, I don't know if I'm going to be able to go where I was going to go. Maybe a team that you thought was kind of right there has said, you know what, I think we're in rebuilding mode.
The Rams, I mean, look, their defense is good. It'll travel. So if
Robert Quinn might be the best defensive player in the league right now.
Yep. If they get anything out of that offense, the Rams could be. I mean, look, they could be a team that you don't want to see it come playoff time.
Plain and simple.
Right?
All right,
agree.
guys, we had football last night. It is now October, and we all know what October brings is the Major League Baseball postseason. Tonight we've got the one-game playoff against the Orioles and the Jays, and tomorrow we've got the Giants and the Mets. So I want to ask you, gentlemen, I know we've been focusing a lot on football lately, but we've got baseball here. Baseball is still alive for a couple more weeks.
It is. There's nothing better than a nice cold beer and a hot dog playoff baseball.
So Orioles,
and we got some teams that have not been in the playoffs in quite some time. So this is exciting.
So we've got the Orioles and Jays. I want to ask you guys, this is a great matchup. These two teams are murderer's row on each end for their lineups for hitters.
Yep.
I wanted to ask you guys, out of this one-game playoff, this is all or nothing, Orioles and Jays, who you got?
Man, I got to tell you, this game is crazy in the sense that they know each other.
Yep.
Both in the same division, both in the AL East, literally identical records, 89 and 73 on the season.
It's a great pitching matchup, too, with Chris Tillman and Marcus Stroman.
It really is.
Good pitching matchup.
It's gonna. I think, in my opinion, it's going to come up with who has the best plays down the stretch here at the end of the game, almost like innings 7, 8, and 9. I see it kind of not being a shootout at RIP because of the good pitching. Almost like a low-scoring game for the first few innings, and then it's going to take it maybe an error or something crazy to happen, kind of break it open a little bit. Somebody gets like a couple-run lead. But they both have hitters on both sides, too, that can really drive the long ball in. You know, Toronto is favored in this game, and the Orioles have been kind of playing inconsistent the last little
iffy
stretch
with them
here.
Because their main problem is their pitching.
Yeah.
And with both of these teams is both of their relief pitchers are terrible. Both of they've
really stunk it up
their setup guys, their relief is not that strong. So these guys they primarily made it in with their offense.
Yes, and I agree.
With Orioles having Manny Machado, Mark Trumbo, Chris Davis, those three guys alone, especially in playoff mode, you don't want to see those three guys in a row. But of course, Toronto's got Encarnacion. They've got Josh Donaldson, who's been tearing it up. Troy Tulowitzki. You've got Michael
They
Saunders.
have players with playoff experience
exactly.
on their roster.
So,
and that have done they've hit in good spots. They've been here before. They know what it takes to get the job done, and hopefully they relay that message, to the younger players that are in the dugout.
I'm
almost
gonna
to the locker room, but I guess it's a locker room.
I'm
too.
gonna go with the Blue Jays on this one because you're in Rogers Center. That place gets, and this is Canada we're talking about. This place gets electric.
Canadian baseball.
This gets electric, especially in playoff mode. We saw that last year. I'm going with Blue Jays because when it's playoff time, these guys show up, and their pitching is just a tad bit better than the Orioles.
Listen, we have Orioles spring training right here in Sarasota, Florida. Ed Smith Stadium. For anyone that's listening that doesn't know the area, they've renovated it. It's really great for the area. I've been there multiple times. I really like it, especially in the new stadium there. I'm rooting for the Orioles, obviously, because you got to like something that's happening local. And obviously, anybody that listens to this show frequently knows I'm a Boston Red Sox fan, anything Boston fan. So it's not like I'm really excited pulling for one team or the other here. I'm rooting for the local team because they have their spring training here. But I'm kind of on board with you, Evan. I think it's going to be too much for them, just the way that they've been playing and the way that they've kind of been trending in the last 10 games there, kind of struggling in different spots. So I think it's going to be too much to go in there and get the win tonight. So I like Toronto in this game.
Frank, who you got?
Yeah, I like Buck Showalter because I always felt like, the New York thing, and then with the Rangers, he came in and got those teams heading in the right direction, but didn't get the benefit of basically the World Series. So I've always wanted to see him get one, but yeah, I mean, look, the Blue Jays made it, I believe, the ALCS last year.
They did.
So, I mean, that's their.
There are no slouches over there.
Yeah. So for that reason, I got to go with the Blue Jays.
All right, tomorrow night we've got the Giants and the Mets. Now I know Frank, you were talking about this. The one pitcher you want in the playoffs is Bumgarner.
Yep.
Do you got the Giants and the Mets? Who do you got?
I do. And look, I know the Mets have pitching. I mean,
Syndergaard's pitching tomorrow night, yes.
And look, he is very good. But, man, I mean, look, Bumgarner is the guy that his regular season numbers, I mean, nothing probably to write home about. I mean, he's not going to win.
15-9, 2.75 ERA, nothing to slouch about.
But his postseason, I mean, look, when they've gone on those Super Bowl runs, Super Bowl.
I mean, we were on the we'll give you a pass on that. We've been on the NFL all day. So, yeah.
The World Series runs, I mean, he was nails. I mean, he was shutting down basically everybody. So, for that reason, he has the experience. I like the Giants.
Well, it's kind of funny. We just talked about two teams going against each other, that the batting has carried them.
Now
I think more so the pitching has carried them in this matchup. I literally look for this to be like a 3-2 type of game. I think both pitchers are going to come out strong. Yep. It's going to be tough for offenses to kind of get going early. I'm going to have to go. It's so funny that you said that, Frank, but I think I'm going to have to roll with the Mets here and Noah Syndergaard.
I'm rolling with the Giants. The Giants have won.
You're on Bumgarner.
I'm on Bumgarner only because the Giants, when they show up in the playoffs, they show up. How many World Series have they won in the past, 7 years? 3 out of the last 7?
I mean, yeah.
So I'm going with the Giants, and Craig, you hit the nail right on the head. This is going to be a pitching duel between these two guys. You got Thor against Madison Bumgarner. I've got the Giants, though, moving on in the playoffs. So this is going to be a good matchup. I love playoff baseball. This is when the electric stuff happens. This is when the moments happen, and especially
absolutely. Now, let me ask you, because I know that they changed some of the, basically the scheduling in the last year or two. Are any of these just basically the play-in game again, like the one-game series, or they went back to the
these
two are the one game?
These 2 games are the one.
Basically the play-ins. So it's the playoffs, but it's not the playoffs still. Because they kind of made it the playoffs, but because it's just the one-game series.
It's the one and done. I mean, you can consider it playoffs.
Yeah, playoffs.
But this is the one and done.
The one and done. So, if you're playing one game, did you really make the playoffs? So this is
in a way, you made the wild card.
You did, but only because they extended the wild card. So in my opinion, you give yourself a pat on the back, but this is the play-in game for the playoffs. So, kudos to those teams. Go out there, get it done, and then get ready to play the big boys.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up for this week. We want to thank you guys for tuning in for this week's show. Of course, you can listen to us live, HNL3.com, and also from Spreaker.com, Raw Talk Online. Old school, this Sunday, everybody better come out. We better see your faces to join us.
11 a.m. opening, guys. Come out, drink some beer. Watch why we even set up the joint, because we want you guys there. We will answer questions. get you involved. Any last-minute fantasy changes that you want to ask us. We're going to go through every single NFL game. We're going to probably do a quick recap of the Thursday game, which right before we get off again here, I want to get you guys' picks. Again, Eric and Dwayne are not in studio today, but I'm sure we'll get their picks a little bit later. Frank, Arizona at San Francisco. Who has this game? Drew Stanton at quarterback, by the way, against Blaine Gabbert. So I might turn this one off at halftime.
Yeah, I never thought I would say this, but I'm rolling with the Niners because short week, team travel typically doesn't do well. And look, with Drew Stanton for the Cardinals, Drew Stanton, Blaine Gabbert, I don't have very much confidence in them. And at least, the Niners can score a little bit. So, yeah, I hate to do this too because – yeah, I'm going with the Niners.
I'm going with Frank, actually, on this one. As much as I love the Cardinals, they've been just
crazy.
I know. And I hate the Niners. The Cardinals have just been mediocre. And now they've got Carson Palmer. And honestly, with Carson Palmer in there, he wasn't doing much anyways.
That's true. Yeah.
So
no, you're right. You're completely right.
So with Drew, I got to roll with the Niners.
It's crazy because I thought I was going to be the only one picking the 49ers here. I'm like, oh, they're both going to go to Arizona. I picked Arizona to make the Super Bowl in the NFC. Where are you guys at? Show up. Come on Thursday. I have to go with the 49ers. Short week. You normally go with the home team. I mean, we've seen it time and time again where this happens. So I'm going to roll the 49ers. I think, Carlos Hyde's going to have a pretty good day. Blaine Gabbert, just give me something, all right? You give me something, the defense is going to be okay. But, hey, I won't – obviously, Arizona's favored in this game on the road with Drew Stanton as of now, unless something miraculous happens in the concussion protocol and Carson Palmer can make it out there. But I'm pretty sure Drew Stanton's getting the start. -4. They're favored by 4 on the road. But I think that if you want to make a little bit of coin, if you will, go with the home team. 49ers, I think, this week. And that's crazy because it's going to put the Cardinals at 1-4.
Ooh. Wow. So something's not right there.
I don't know what it is. Bruce Arians is a good coach. I mean, really.
I didn't see any stories that came out. I mean, they got Tyrann Mathieu back. I mean, what happened that nobody else knows about? That was there infighting that just didn't get leaked. I mean, something had to.
Was
happen.
Jonathan Cooper that good?
Well, yeah, do they hate Chandler Jones? I mean, I don't know.
Playoff hangover, maybe.
I mean, yeah,
I don't know.
But they didn't make the Super Bowl. Usually we call it the Super Bowl hangover, but
playoff hangover.
They were supposed to be better than they were last year.
Yeah,
and they're below average.
Yep.
They got to win this game. I'm still going 49ers just for the fact, but this is a game they have to win. This is a game they should win. Simple as that.
All right, guys, it's been a great show. Of course, we are going to be filming a commercial at Old School on Saturday morning, so if you guys want to be an extra in the commercial, come on down, enjoy the commercial, be a part of it. You guys could probably have some free beers, not on us, but maybe on somebody else.
Yeah, can the storm blow somewhere else? Because we don't know what's happening with that thing yet, but if it is coming, be sure to get your hurricane preps going. The water, the canned goods, get the batteries, the flashlights, because, you can never be prepared enough. Everybody that's went through these storms knows how it is. So if just keep an eye on it. If you think it's coming, just go get some stuff.
Beer.
We want
lots of beer.
Public service announcement from HNL3.
Yeah. All right, guys. For myself, E. Bush, Craig Cousin to my right, the factual Frank on my left. This has been a whole nother level. We will see you guys on Sunday at Old School at 11:30. We'll see you during the week. Keep safe if the hurricane comes by. Be safe, but we will see you guys on Sunday. Have a good one. It is whole nother level.
Gee, Ray, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.